Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm gonna be giving you 5 easy steps to taking care of your baby chicks. Right now, it is chick season. I know everyone's happy. This is our favorite time of the year. This is the time where Tractor Supply and everyone else has little chicks. If you've been thinking about getting chickens, backyard chickens, or if you're thinking about getting egg layers, you don't need a lot of space, all right? The more space you have, the cheaper the cost to raising chicks. Smaller space you have, the more costly it'll be to raise chicks, all right? But you don't need a lot of space, okay? So that's the main thing. Don't get discouraged thinking that you need a bunch of land just to have some chickens. You really don't. You can do it right there in your yard. But today, I'm just gonna show you guys everything that you need to raising the baby chicks. This will just be the supplies that you'll need from baby chicks to putting them outside. We just got 6 chicks. So the first thing that you're gonna need is a brooder box. This is a brooder box, okay? There's 2 different types of brooders. You have the brooder, like the incubator, and then you have this brooder. This is where you put the chicks at, and you will leave them here for about 3 weeks. So you just wanna look at your last frost date and get the chicks about 3 weeks prior to that date. Typically it takes about 3 weeks from getting chicks to getting them outside, okay? This brooder that we have here, we do like a 2-step process indoors. You don't have to go that route. If you want to make it a little bit easier on yourself, just start off with getting a bigger brooder box, because once they start to get bigger, right now they're very small, but once they start to get a little bigger, this will be too small for them. So we just like to start them off here, and then as they get bigger, we transfer them into a larger box up out in the garage. Typically just get some plywood and put it together. And for that, I usually make it about 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet. The second thing that you will need is a heat source. I am highly against getting heat lamps. The reason is because it's just scary. I've heard horror stories and I've seen all over Facebook of barns catching on fire, people's houses catching on fire. Even on the instructions, it says to really keep an eye on them. So late at night when I'm trying to go to sleep, I just cannot sleep knowing that that light is on. And so I want to keep us protected in here, especially since we keep them indoors for the first few weeks. Some people that have them in barns, I mean, that's, you know, I still wouldn't do it, but I understand. Especially since finding the radiant heater, I find that to be a lot better. It's a lot safer. We don't have to worry about it exploding as far as, you know, as far as I'm concerned. The heat lamps, sometimes they will just explode and then all that heat will go into the shavings, and, you know, the shavings are dry and they'll catch on fire. So that's something you do not want to do. I would recommend you not to do that. Like I said, if you have a barn, you know, that's your choice. That's a little safer than having it in your home. As far as the brooder goes, this does have a height adjustment to it, so you are able to adjust the height accordingly. As they get older, you'll just move the height up. This one actually broke. I know they have newer ones now that are adjustable with like little screw thingies, but this is an older one that we have, so one of the clamps broke off. We're overdue for a new one already, so I'm gonna look into getting a newer one. I just haven't had time to really search for one yet. What I also like about this brooder is it's a little bit more comforting, right? They don't have this bright light all night just hitting them, so it's just better. It's nice and dark in there for them at night, and they just, you know, get together. And sometimes if you see them around the edge of that means it's probably a little too hot in there. There are 2 settings. There's low and high. And so I always keep mine on low, especially since we have them in the house and we have them right next to the heater. And the reason why I do that is just because I'm trying to be as safe as possible with these heaters. Although it is radiant, I still want to be safe. And so I just have it on the low setting and I have it right next to, we have baseboard heating in the house, so I have it right next to there and it helps keep them warm. The third thing on the list, I would say, is your waterer and your feeder. All right, so this is what we have here. I'll show you right here. This is the waterer and the feeder that we have. This was picked up at the local Tractor Supply. This one is a little bit colorful, I would say. Erica picked them out, Erica and the kids. We typically have an older set that we have, which is just the older style, just red and clear. I would recommend maybe doing a 2-step process, which is getting the smaller waterer and feeder and then switching over to the larger one. And if you don't want to go through that, just start off with getting the larger one. It doesn't, you know, as long as they have fresh water and fresh feed, that's all that matters. As far as the waterers go, as soon as you get the chicks, what you want to do is, and this is what we do, we add apple cider vinegar into the water. That is very crucial just to get them pumped, you know, their immune system pumped up. It has a lot of health benefits to it, and we do it throughout their life as well. We do it with all of our animals. As soon as you get your chicks in there, in the brooder, you want to grab them by the beak and just kind of dip their nose, like so, right into the water. And what this does is, it just shows them where their water is at. And you can do the same thing with the feed. The feed is a little different, I feel like. There's always one, they're hungry regardless, so one is gonna find it. As soon as the one finds it, they'll all find it, all right? That's never been an issue. They always seem to find the feed very, very fast and easily. But the water, they seem to have a hard time finding it sometimes. So I just like to dip their beak in there, and you'll see how thirsty they are right away. We recommend you put the water onto some type of platform that can collect the water and will maybe even stop the pine shavings from getting inside the water. You can use some type of hardware cloth. I know some people, they'll get depending on how big your brooder is, obviously, the bigger the brooder, the easier it will be to implement these things into it. It was a little easier since we already had everything, but for you guys, for people that are just starting, that don't have anything, I highly recommend just having everything set up. Go over the list twice just to make sure you have everything, and then go and get the chicks, all right? Especially since it's your first time. You really want to get that right the first time. You don't want to be going back and forth. That's something that I will recommend you guys to do, is just get everything set up, check the list twice, and then go get the chicks. What some people do is they'll put a bowl right inside the pine shavings with some type of hardware cloth and kind of have it like leveled off with the pine shavings. And then right on top, they'll put the water. So if the water does fall, it falls right into that bowl, all right? That's a cool thing to do. We did it last year, but this year, I really didn't have time to get that all set up. This was really a last minute thing that we did. We went to Tractor Supply just to look at the chicks, and then that was a setup. Erica's like, let's go look at the chicks. And then, you know, she set me right up. We end up coming home with 6 new chicks. Feed is very important. You do want to get chick starter feed. You don't want to get anything with a higher, they're not producing eggs, so they don't need all this calcium right away. When they're chicks, you just want to get them starter feed. We are trying out this new feed. It's called Cluck and Company. Here it is right here. It looks better than some of the other feed we were giving them. It is a little bit more on the pricey side, so we're gonna see how long it lasts, how often we're buying them bags. They do eat. They eat all day, so they're hungry little monsters here. That's your choice if you want to get organic. If you don't want to get organic, it's all up to you. It doesn't really matter. It's just our choice that we decided to go with a non-GMO and organic feed. It's just something that we really try to implement into raising our animals here. The fourth thing is pine shavings. All right, you need some type of bedding. We use pine shavings. Right in back of me right here, this is the pine shavings that we use. All right, they have the fine and then the flakes. We like to use the fine only because some people say flakes are better for chicks because you don't want them eating their bedding since this is so small. And then the flakes are a lot, like, they're a little bigger, so typically the chicks won't eat it. I haven't had that issue where they ate the bedding, so I really can't say from my personal experience, but that's just what some people do say. As far as us, we've been doing just fine with the fine. As we do the deep litter method, this works perfectly for that. We stay away from the flaky stuff. That doesn't really seem to work for us, so it takes a little longer to break down. So this is what we use, but feel free to use whatever you want to use. Stay away from the cedar. That's the recommendation I would say, is just stay away from cedar. The last thing that you will need to do is get the chicks. I know that's the fun part, all right? So when you're shopping for chicks, you got to think about why you're getting chicks. If you're getting them because you really want a lot, first of all, think of how many eggs you want, all right? Think your family size. The cuter chickens, the ones with the colored eggs and all, they will not produce as many eggs as the brown eggers, I would say, okay? I forget I'll try to post it right here, but the first batch of chickens we got, they produced many eggs for us. They did very, very well for us, and they're still producing eggs. They're still laying eggs. We were getting a good amount of eggs. Now, these Easter eggers, they don't really produce as many eggs, but they're nice. Like, we have enough chickens now, so we can mess around with it. We can start getting the cute ones, and you know, we could start getting the different colored eggs. But that's something that you really want to think about. Why are you getting these chickens? Are you getting them because you just want some chickens and you would like a few eggs a day? Or are you getting them because you really, really, really want to stay away from the stores and you really just want to get your own eggs every day? Want to stay away from the store-bought eggs? So if that's the case, and the size, and depending on the size of your family, I would really think about the style. So if you go to Tractor Supply or anywhere you go to buy eggs, you should be able to see on the label of how many eggs a year they typically produce. So you want to look at those numbers. That's something that I always look at. Erica's always looking at the colorful eggs. I'm always looking at how many eggs can we get, because that is very important. So that's something that you guys should think about. And also the hardiness, right? If you're in a colder climate area, look at that as well. Look at what conditions do these chickens like that you're looking to purchase, all right? If you're in a very hot area, you might want to get a chicken that does well in the heat. If you're in a colder area, you want to look at chickens that will do well in the cold, all right? We kind of do dual purpose chickens. We typically get chickens that are just good outside in the cold and the heat. They have those too. That's pretty much everything you need for the chickens. There are some more adjustments that I usually make to the brooder as they get older, as well as the chicks get a little bigger. Typically about a week or so before putting them outside, because they will be pretty big. And so there are some tips and tricks that I have for that. If you guys are curious to what those tips and tricks are, please comment below. Just type curious. That's all you have to do. Just type in curious. And I know that you're curious. I will elaborate on what those things are. They are very important. It's something that we really, really, really take serious, and it really helps with the health of the chickens. And also, I will make a video on everything that's needed before putting them outside, okay? That's another 5-step process that you need to make before putting these chickens outside. Thank you guys. Peace.